I am water. In the form of a river, I twist in and out among the curves. Sometimes I pass forests interlaced with trees. Sometimes, when looking at a forest, I think I am looking at a green and brown map. In the form of an ocean, I am tossed around by storms, turning into a spray when I hit the rocks. It takes much finesse to weave in and out of an archipelago, and usually I make a mistake and overflow where I am not supposed to. When I take on the form of ice, I sometimes become an icicle. I get dizzy if I hang from a windowsill too long. I am very glad that I turn it back to water. When I am vapor, I rise into the air, and if I am lucky, I can see many grand sights. When I turn back to rain again, I fall to the ground, but I will rise again. I am Michael Yetnikoff. I live at 8242 233rd Street, New York City. I am 9 years old, and I am a writer.
A writer?
Yes, a writer.
What kind of writer are you?
Well, I usually write poetry, except occasionally I do write stories.
Read us some of your poems.
Yes. This is one about learning. Tourmalines and diamonds, shining in the sun, intangible, without learning. The stars, unreachable, without learning. Life itself, improbable, without learning. Well, I have another of my poems that I'd like to read to you, which I think means something also. Two bodies, when parted, are completely oblivious of each other until they fuse and finally melt away.
That's a beautiful poem, Michael.
And that I don't exactly really know what it means. You know, some poems, you know, I just write. I know they mean something, but I don't know exactly what they mean.
How do you think you can write a poem when you don't know what it means?
I don't know. It's difficult. I just scribble words down on paper.
Well, you managed to make the words come together, and they sound very beautiful. Now, how do you do that?
Well, just like I said, that I only do this in poems. You know, when I write stories, like the one about water, I, think about. But I don't know. I just think of a group of words or phrase that sounds interesting. I continue it on, and you know, usually I do have a little tiny outline of what I do. You know, I do have a little idea.
Read us another.
Okay. Love, emotion, and life all combined in a book would be fantasy. Well, this is a haiku, and I wrote it in a series of haikus that I wrote. It's one day.
One day you wrote all these haikus?
Yeah, 50 of them. And this one I thought was one of the best ones. And I think you could see, you know, what it means.
Why don't you say it one more time, okay?
Love, emotion, and life all combined in a book would be fantasy.
Read us another.
The world lays flat on its philosophical back as if basks in the sun. And I think you could know what that one means also.